I've written waiting for a change to come. All my life, waiting. We could last forever, but it won't matter. We could last forever, but it don't matter.
I started when I was roughly 8 years old. From as early as I can remember, I knew I wanted to learn, but at the time I never thought much more of it, I suppose. Although the more I think about it, the more I realise how passionate I really was. And now, seeing how far I've come, I guess it all makes sense. It's easy to overlook the significance of the beginning and the role it plays in what follows. My name is Daniel Aaron. I'm a 20-year-old musician from Pyramid Hill. Music is my language. It's taught me so much. I'm not one to try and prove myself to others, but music lets me prove to myself that I can be something. It gives me a purpose. I think saying that I do it all for myself can come across selfish in some ways, especially how to be coming from a great musician. But I think that's part of being a great musician. It satisfies something deep in one's soul, and drawing from that is where great music comes from. And then hopefully people resonate with that. Pyramid Hill is a small town in rural Victoria with a population of around 400 people. I think the most kids in any of my year levels at school was about 15. I was never exposed to much music in the community or my family. And Pyramid's culture was very much based around farming and the footy and netball club. And I never really assimilated with either of those things. Hence, I never found much of a place there. In fact, I always felt like I belonged by the ocean, despite growing up so far away from it. As a result, though, I found solace in spending most of my time exploring music. Then, when my parents separated, not long after that, it gave me something to confide in through that bumpy time, just consolidating my passion for it. And had I spent more time on the farm or playing footy, I couldn't tell you what my music could look like now, and if anything at all, for that matter. Growing up in the country was certainly restraining as a musician due to lack of resources and isolation from any music scene, I suppose. But it also gave me a lot to be grateful for. It taught me a lot of valuable life skills and knowledge, but also helped to mould my approach to emerging as an artist. Progressing in a rural area was very slow and took a lot of perseverance and travel to get into any gigging. Therefore, I became very dedicated. However, I think the most valuable thing I've learnt is patience. Something I heard once from another muso who'd been around the traps that I knew went something along the lines of the majority of young and emerging artists could play less. And that I learnt the hard way, and probably the only way, really. Gigging all the time, everywhere, generally doesn't do much good for your reputation and demand. When I started gigging, I was basically playing the same 3 venues on rotation. It was bloody awesome for the first season or so, until the vibe started to dwindle and eventually the gigs just became mediocre. So I started playing those venues very sparsely and reaching further afield. In 2018, I also won a pretty big competition that saw me play at Australia's biggest regional festival. It was the most amazing experience and gave me a lot of inspiration. But looking back now, I can see that opportunity was far too early for there to have been any real advantage to the development of my career. Had it even happened this year, probably would still be too early. There's even been other cases where I put myself out there too early, and thankfully I haven't embarrassed myself yet, but it's still early days. So I really just want to hone my skills and be ready when I'm putting myself out there in the future. I think the key is finding a happy place between sitting back and willing it to happen and racing forward and forcing it out prematurely. I currently play guitar, drums, ukulele, didgeridoo, bass, harmonica, a little bit of banjo, and I'm slowly picking up the keys. I own 4 different guitars, a bass, a couple of didges, several harmonicas, a MIDI keyboard, a banjo, a melodica, a cigar box guitar, some African percussion, a bunch of auxiliary percussion, and a very oversized pedalboard. I guess I'm a bit of a jack of all trades and a master of none. I actually started playing the drums first though, but my performance now is mostly based around the guitar and looping, although my favourite instrument to play is probably the didge. An important element for me in conveying my music and across all aspects of life is through intentions. I think regardless of the situation or the environment, if I can carry myself sincerely and follow through with my best intentions in any situation, then it gives the least amount of room for offence or discouragement and cuts down any speculation of a false appearance. And it gives me self-assurance as well, I suppose. And I think people connect with that, or at least appreciate it, especially in the music industry where there is so much smoke and mirrors. I'm currently living by the ocean, just having a pretty great time. Skating, surfing, writing, creating. Even though I don't go to the beach every day, there's just something about living in the presence of the ocean that's inspiring and fulfilling. I've just been preparing myself really for the next step, which for me at the moment is releasing a collation of music that highlights all corners of what I write and what I play. And I know that there's never a right time, so to speak, but I guess I'm just trusting my gut on this one. I also try to be a realist, as I'm not in nor near the financial position to see it through, as well as juggling work and gigs and motivation and social life and all that stuff. Nothing about my story is really that special, but I think that's what makes me so determined in a way. There's so much fuss about what's mainstream and cliche, and so many people afraid of being normal. But I just try and express myself in a way that feels true to me. There's 7 billion people on this earth, and not everyone can be different. And of that, there's thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even, of other aspiring musos. Not everyone's gonna hack it, but someone's gonna do it. There's also every chance I won't fulfill all my music aspirations, or I might aspire for something else in the future. I know right now it's wholeheartedly what I want, but I'm not special. I've got a lot of hard work ahead of me. And despite my determination and drive, I think that it's good to be aware that not everything goes to plan all the time and be prepared for it. And I think it would be naive to deny that. However, at least my guitar will always be there. It's the one thing that always has, and I know that that's where it all started. Everyone's got to believe in something. Music is my something. It's why I'm here.